Hey, morning, everybody. Just wanted to stop and today I wanted to talk about Tennessee alcohol distribution laws. This is something that is absolutely frustrating, and the conversation has been sitting in my head for a little while. The more and more I learn about the adult beverage industry, the more frustrated I get with some of the chaotic laws that are out there. Now, before anybody gets, immediately upset from distribution, just hold on for a second. This is not me saying that distributors are bad. They're not. Quite honestly, good distributors are incredibly important, and great distributors can completely change the future for a brand. I understand why the three-tier system exists. I understand tied house laws. I understand the prohibition. I understand why states wanted separation between producers, distributors, and retailers. Tennessee, especially, has a really interesting history with alcohol. I mean, the state was one of the earliest states pushing prohibition laws long before national prohibition even happened, which is ironic for Tennessee. And Tennessee has this weird relationship with alcohol historically. We celebrate whiskey culture. We celebrate distilling history. We celebrate Jack Daniels. We celebrate Uncle Nearest. We celebrate Tennessee whiskey. But at the same time, we regulate the absolute hell out of the industry, which honestly feels very on brand for the government in general. We support this thing, but we're going to make it so complicated that it's too hard for you to participate. And I've been learning more and more about distribution while building the bar book and helping out with craft, because once you start talking to actual owners and startup founders and suppliers, you start hearing the same stories over and over again. And story usually sounds something like this. We finally got distribution. Oh yeah. And then really nothing happened. That's part because people outside the industry don't understand what's going on. Most consumers think, oh, you got distribution. Congratulations, you've made it. No, not even close. Sometimes getting distribution is actually where the stress starts. Because in Tennessee, they operate under a mandatory three-tier system, meaning the producer, wholesaler, and retailer must come from relationships in Tennessee. And once you enter a certain distributor relationship, Tennessee franchise protections can make it extremely difficult to leave those relationships later. And that's where I start having questions, because on paper, I kind of understand the argument. The argument is that distributors invest resources into building brands, so the state protects those business relationships. Fair enough, right? I'm sure they appreciate that. But what happens when the distributor isn't building the brand anymore? What happens when your product just becomes one more case sitting in a warehouse somewhere? In reality, large distributors have like giant portfolios. They have lots of suppliers, incentive programs, and major volume brands. And if you're a tiny, startup distillery, you're competing for attention inside a system that naturally prioritizes volume. It's all about money. It's not evil. It's just business. I totally get that. But what frustrates me is when a small brand basically gets trapped and they're stuck in this system, after that. And honestly, I don't think most people realize how financially dangerous that can be for a startup distillery. I don't even know if most people understand that this can happen in Tennessee, because distilleries bleed cash constantly. They're always paying for something, paying for the grain, the barrels, glasses, their tasting room, their labels, their employees, storage, compliance. Federal and state taxes are killing them. And then licensing. Money goes out nonstop. But if for some reason the product stops moving, then no money is coming in. And if your distributor loses interest in your brand, well, you don't really have many options, especially in Tennessee. And that's really the scary part. So as we talk to veteran-owned brands that are, small startups and building this community, that's where I really start to get irritated, because everybody loves to say that they support veterans. Every company has a veterans banner in November. Every conference has a veterans panel. Every politician talks veteran entrepreneurship. Cool, great, good for you. But then why are they dropping veteran-owned startups into one of the most restrictive business systems imaginable and acting like they're helping? I mean, seriously. We tell veterans, startup businesses, be entrepreneurs, lead, use your past experiences and innovate. Then we put them into a system where they may spend years building a product only to have another company effectively control whether the product gets market attention. That's crazy to me. I don't even understand. And listen, I'm not saying distributors shouldn't make money. I'm not saying eliminate the three-tier system, although maybe a refresh might not be bad. I'm not saying Tennessee should become some free-for-all alcohol state. What I'm saying is maybe there should be some flexibility for veteran-owned brands trying to grow. Maybe we should truly stand behind those statements we make in May, in November, and around July 4th when we talk about supporting our veterans. And maybe we build some structure to allow them to compete for discovery. And maybe consumers actually want that discovery. That's the irony. Consumers are actively looking for those local brands, that craft spirit, some small tequila brand with a founder story, some veteran-owned brewery, distillery, whatever, authentic products. People want that connection more than some giant generic branding. That's literally part of why we built the bar book and then going on with craft, because some of the best products on Americans' shelves are just sitting there outside of where people can find them. Not because the product isn't good, but because discovery is hard and expensive. And when distributor relationships now become rigid, that problem gets even worse. And honestly, I think Tennessee should seriously consider a veteran-owned exemption model. Not special treatment, not charity, opportunity. Take those words that you say every year and maybe make some opportunities for veteran-owned brands. Craft would love to be a part of this and support anyone who would help, build this out. Look at allowing for veterans to have multiple distributors in the state of Tennessee. Have them self-distribute. I know that if you own a distillery in the state of Tennessee, you can self-distribute. But what if you're an importer? You're still a veteran-owned brand, but now you can't distribute. Look, technology has changed, marketing has changed, discovery has changed. But some of these laws still in effect, they're just built for a different era. And honestly, I think Tennessee has an opportunity here. Tennessee already has incredible history, incredible brands, incredible tourism, and amazing hospitality. That state should be one of the best places in America for small veteran-owned beverage brands to grow, not one of the hardest. And look, maybe I'm wrong on parts of this. Maybe there are pieces I still haven't found out yet. I don't claim to be the subject matter expert on anything. It's fair. I'm still learning, and the industry evolves every day too. But from where I'm sitting right now, the current structure feels very hard on small brands, especially on veteran-owned brands that are trying to make something meaningful without massive corporate backing. And I think that's a conversation worth having. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in and listening to me rant about distribution and the uniqueness of Tennessee. I appreciate your support. Follow, like, share, subscribe, and give me your thoughts. If you're a distillery in Tennessee and you think we should look at, ways that we can talk to the legislature and make some changes, reach out. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks a lot and cheers.